Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope you've had a great Tuesday. Hope you're having a great week so far. Hopefully, a lot of y'all don't even have to work this week, and if y'all do, it's a short week. Coming at you a little bit early, and that's just because I actually had to leave work early today because I was sick, man. It's rough. Got some little stomach bug, got a little fever too. Um, I'm gonna see how long it lasts. If it lasts until tomorrow, my whole entire family's had it, and it's only lasted about 48 hours, and then it's good. Haven't threw up or anything yet. It's just a little bit of a mild fever, and that's about it. So, I posted in the community tab for prayers for that. So I appreciate all the prayers for that. Hopefully, I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll feel better. But anyways, let's get going with this. So right now, still a slight risk for tomorrow with severe weather potential here, and this covers all the states you see in the yellow. That's level 2 out of 5, and there's a marginal risk surrounding that area too. It's all response of basically a little short wave that's going to be flying over the southern areas of the Ohio Valley and the mid-south, and yeah, right in the area where there could be a little low-level jet, 850 low-level jet of about 30, 40 knots probably at most. So this area right here could definitely have the more enhanced tornado threat, and I think that's why there's a slight risk a little bit north. Yesterday we were talking about some supercells developing here in southern Mississippi and Louisiana, and that still may be the case, but I think any storms that develop or either develop down here and then go into Alabama or even, watch out around Atlanta. It's getting really close to you guys. Any storms that develop and then move into this area, there's going to be more directional shear in place, meaning there's going to be a spin to these storms. The storms are going to get a little bit of a spin to them, meaning you could have some supercell in nature storms that could, drop a quick tornado or something. So that's what we're going to break down. If you guys have not subscribed, hit the subscribe button for me. Like the video if you like it. I've had a lot of growth over the last several days, and it's much appreciated. I passed 9,000 subscribers overnight. For people who've been watching for a while, I've been trying to get to 10K by the end of the year. I think that's a miracle status right there, but I just appreciate the growth, so let's hope this event, and I'll tell you, the event is, I wouldn't say downtrended, but it hasn't gotten worse. In fact, this slight risk was down here in the southern areas right here, and it's actually been nipped a little bit more north, so a little bit of a smaller area of the slight risk, and that slight risk is there really because of the tornado threat. 5% chance of a tornado of 25 miles in any given location in this area. This includes Nashville, Jackson, Memphis, Greenville, Birmingham, Alabama, and it's getting very close to Atlanta. So watch out, especially Atlanta overnight, tomorrow night. So as far as the wind threat, same area, got to watch out. And just like with any strong or severe storms, there's going to be chance for and there's going to be chance for strong winds, hail threats there too, especially with supercells with updrafts that have a chance to really explode. Going forward here, we get into day 3. A little bit of risk of thunderstorms moves into the Thursday and Friday time frame. But we'll watch this to see how this trends. But I think some storms definitely have the chance to keep developing, and moving into the Carolinas, and they could be strong to severe. So we'll watch that. But really what we're watching here big time is this storm for the new year, New Year's Eve into New Year's. Actually, this is New Year's Eve. There's going to be a big surface trough that pops off around this 500 millibar jet. It's dipping through, fires up off of, gets picked up here in Baja California, shoots across Texas, south central U.S., and starts to ride into the mid-south. So basically an 850 jet here, a low-level jet, is going to be fired up here. So any storms that develop here, and this is looking like almost a morning type threat where the storms may be the worst here in New Year's. You got to watch out for this for sure, especially with the directional shear with the low-level jet. And then we get into day 5. It shifts more east, and this is the day we've really been talking about for a while. This is a pretty expanded area and almost the same exact area as the event that's going to happen tomorrow. So both these events, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if the event tomorrow is going to go to an enhanced risk. We'll see. If it does, we'll probably wake up to it. But I'm about to show you, basically we're going to dissect this first event for tomorrow into overnight. Then we'll talk about the second event and what we know, which it's going to probably be a couple more days before we know a lot on the second event because we got to get into these short-range models. Then we'll talk about the pattern change behind all this severe weather. It's going to be a multi-day severe weather threat, and we'll take a look here at the end. And then there's a risk of really heavy rain that hasn't really been mentioned a lot. And we'll just briefly touch on that. You got to watch out with the southern Appalachian Mountains for that, especially with mudslides and things like that. But so these are today risks. I'll remind you, if you guys have not, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, like the video if you like it. And when you like the video, it helps get the video out there. So that kind of support goes a long way, and I'm always trying to tell you guys how much I appreciate it, and I really do. If you look on my YouTube page, there's a way to join my channel too, and it's basically just a way to basically help out and just give a little monthly and try to make my setup better, because I'm also a storm chaser, and I'm actually trying to plan on chasing this event for New Year's for you guys and for people who've been following along for a while. I chased Ida, and I kind of made almost like a weather vlog kind of deal, and I basically went live a lot and, tried to get y'all all in the nitty gritty of things. So that's what I plan on doing with this, unless I'm still sick, and God, I hope not. But anyways, here we go. This is the 500 millibar. This is well over 10,000 feet up in the air. Moving here in time, pivotal weather. I do not like it too much as far as these tabs, but we're getting into the early afternoon hours. This surface trough is riding around right in here. And as you're getting through, there's not a big trough injection, meaning you're not getting a big time dip in this jet stream right here that's going to provide any sort of big dynamic 850 jet, that low level jet. When I say low level jet, that's basically 4,000 to 5,000 feet up in the air. You ever look outside on a day, you wake up in the morning and they're calling for thunderstorms, severe storms that day, and you look outside and it looks like the clouds are racing 1,000,000 miles an hour just above your head? That's a low level jet, and that'll be the case in certain areas tomorrow. But I think really the second event is going to have a much more broad low level jet covering a lot more areas, and I think it'll be more of an enhanced tornado threat. But we'll see how that goes as days come. But this first event, this moves through. Then here comes, this is the latest GFS. Here comes that big trough injection here. It picks up a surface low here in Baja California, shoots over south central U.S. And then, you have a big time trough injection. And what I'm wondering here is in the Carolinas, and it's not mentioned here on day 7 or anything, but if you read down here, it does mention portions of the southeast into the Carolinas. Severe weather threat will likely persist as you get into Sunday. And I really think the big threat here, as the low pressure really gets to the north, I think the big threat becomes a squall line or a line of storms. But we'll continue to watch that. So let's look at the latest HRRR model. And really, what is this showing? The latest long range. And another long range will come out in the next couple hours. But here you go. You're getting into Wednesday morning. You already have storms firing up in Mississippi. Now, I will mention, a lot of times when you have a lot of storms early on a severe weather day, sometimes that can basically decrease the severe weather event, because basically cloud cover, rain earlier in the day can help stabilize an atmosphere. And sometimes if you don't get the sun to come back out and the rain and storms persist throughout the late morning, early afternoon, the atmosphere never really recovers. Therefore, you don't get as big as a severe weather threat than maybe it's predicted in that specific location. But you get into the early afternoon hours tomorrow, you got showers even getting into Georgia and South Carolina. We need all the rain we can get in the Carolinas for sure. But you're getting into the late afternoon hours, and these are the cells you watch here. And there's an area right here, and I know it's not showing a lot of Tennessee. It was really hard to pull up 1,000,000 tabs for you guys, but this basically covers most of Tennessee right here. I think a little bit of the northern end's a little nicked off here. But what I worry about with this little area right here is this surface trough, surface low is right going just north of Tennessee. And this is where the low-level jet's going to be the most intense, 30 to 40 knots. You're going to have a low-level jet down here too. But we have to watch to see if these storms kind of consolidate into maybe the lower end of these storms could really get a hook and maybe turn into a big old supercell. And that's when you watch areas around Nashville and surrounding cities. You really got to watch. But one big thing you watch early on in the day is the initiation of these storms in southern Mississippi and Louisiana. I think these storms can be dangerous. And if you back it up here to around the 22Z time frame, which is, around early to mid-afternoon or so, you see these storms have a little bit of a hook to them, these little hooks. They don't look, too crazy on pivotal weather's output here, but these are the storms that can work into and get closer to that surface trough, which is starting to get going here right here with this 850 jet. And these storms can move into a more favorable atmosphere overnight for areas like Birmingham, where the low-level jet starts ramping up, and then these storms could get kind of dangerous. And I know you're looking at this and you're like, well, I don't see much of anything, but any of these storms, especially once it gets into this area, Birmingham's right in here, you got to watch these overnight. O2Z, you're starting to get into the nighttime hours. I mean, right now we're in the darkest days, meaning some of the shortest days as far as daylight. So the sun goes down for most around 5:30 to 6 o'clock. So it's not like you're getting a late springtime setup or summer setup where the sun's not going down until 6:37, 7:38. It gets dangerous when you get into the overnight hours. I'm going to be interested to see how this trends, but as you're getting into the overnight hours, look just the northwest suburbs of Alabama. Look at these little storms. They're hooking right here, and that's what you got to watch out for. And then these storms, as you get into the morning hours Thursday, start making it into the Carolinas, and then the storm kind of gets sheared out as the surface low pretty much gets really north. But we got plenty. We've been talking about this for days. The dew points are ridiculous, and they're going to be ridiculous. You're going to get this tongue of moisture here that shoots up. You got dew points well into the 60s, upper 60s, and then you just get this area of dew points in the 70s, and I think this will verify along the Gulf Coast. And this is right around where these storms initialize and then move into a more favorable atmosphere, which I think will be right in here. But these dew points are ridiculous for this time of year. I mean, dew points in the 70s in late December. You're almost in January. I mean, it's just insane for this time of year. It really is. You look at this. You look at the 850. This is that low-level jet we talk about. And as we're getting going here, that surface drop moves in right around in here. And this is 22Z, so around mid to late afternoon. And you click right in here, you got the HRRR showing a 40 or 50 knot jet moving into the Nashville area. So that's why you got to watch out. The atmosphere well up here will be a little bit less favorable, but just north of this boundary here, and just south of this low pressure, right into here in northern Alabama, with storms already erupting right in here. You got to watch out. There's some shear right in here. And this moves, into Georgia, and it's pretty stout low-level jet depicted on the HRRR model. And from everything I read, the HRRR model does pretty well with nocturnal events, and this is potentially going to turn into that. You look a sounding around Atlanta as you get into the late night hours. A little bit of a marginal tornado threat. You have dew points well into the 60s, surface temperatures. Not crazy or anything, but it is the middle of the night. You have around a 40 knot low level jet, and a little bit of a severe weather sounding right here. But I think once it gets into Georgia, into South Carolina especially, it gets sheared out, and then you lose that severe weather aspect. But I think the severe weather will persist right here in central Georgia, and then maybe a little small area of South Carolina as the Storm Prediction Center depicts there. But watch here just south of Nashville. I think this might be an area that you might need to watch, and storms developing here in the southern areas. But you obviously click the sounding that has the most intense low-level jet, and it has a 50-knot low-level jet. It's rolling here. A directional shear is there, and you have some cape right here, but a little bit of the sounding is not all the way there. This is contaminated a little bit, but still, you got to watch out. You really do. As far as surface-based cape, it's there. And I think this is what's going to help initialize these storms as you get into tomorrow afternoon around Louisiana, southern areas of Louisiana, and southern areas of Mississippi. And I think this is what helps initialize these storms, is this pretty crazy cape showing up on the HRRR model. It might be a little overdone, but these will provide initiation for these storms, and then they move into more of a sheared environment here, as far as bulk shear right in place with some directional shear. And this moves out, and then you watch out here. Maybe the cape fires up again Thursday afternoon for South Carolina and Georgia as we get into Thursday afternoon. But as far as the NAM doesn't look super impressive with this system. We're getting here. I love looking at this. You got high pressure way up here. This is your southeast ridge, and it's pivoting all this moisture. It's funneling all here. You have a north motion, and then it goes to northeast motion. pivoting around this high pressure, which is what's ultimately pushing all these extremely moist dew points into the Gulf states. But as you see this surface trough pop up right here, and that is the one we're talking about that's going to amp up a low-level jet as it moves into a more into the moist sector here. And look at these storms firing up here. But, they don't look real isolated or discrete. And it looks like the timing is a little bit, it's lagging a little bit compared to the HRRR model. But so just be careful. The event tomorrow, it is not necessarily trended upward, but it still remained the same. And I think we're going to have a few tornadoes tomorrow. As far as the events around New Year's Eve into New Year's, here comes this big trough injection right here. Picks up a surface low, injects it into the Ohio Valley, and this is digging much more positively tilted. But look at this embedded negative tilt right here, maybe. So we got to watch early on as we get into, basically around New Year's Eve. It might be very active in Arkansas, and then as this is moving forward here, we'll kind of speed this up here. This is basically a screaming jet, 500 millibar jet screaming over the Mid-South and whole entire eastern U.S. It's pretty crazy. And it kicks off this southeast ridge, gets it on out of here temporarily, and brings in a pattern change. How long will that pattern change be? Not sure. But, you look at the GFS. One thing I'll mention with the GFS, and we'll go all the way to hour 114, which is around Sunday morning. Then you go to hour 14 in the same area. Notice the European is lagging a little bit. The GFS is much quicker. And, I think that's why there's still big-time question marks. Look at them. The timing on them is definitely different. I think that's why there's big-time question marks if you read the Storm Prediction Center briefing there. As far as the low-level jet, is much more broad and much more intense over basically the same areas. And this is where you watch New Year's Eve. Low-level jet gets kicking here, basically into Arkansas, gets into the Memphis area, Tennessee. Here comes that surface trough. Another question mark is how far south or north is this? I think this has a big chance. If you're looking at the European, this would be a major snowstorm for Chicago. Chicago got its first accumulating snow basically today, and you guys are going to have another light event here in a couple of days, and then potentially a major winter storm as we ring in the new year for these areas. So definitely something I've always thought would be really cool is this the shoot fireworks off in a snowstorm. I imagine the fireworks illuminating off all the snowflakes would be pretty freaking cool. But anyways, this moves in, not to get off topic, Saturday morning. Low-level jet is much more intense. To me, this is telling me there's going to be a much more significant tornado threat across the Deep South and maybe Mid-South for sure. As far as the dew points, they are going to cooperate big time. Dew points well into the 60s and 70s into this area. And finally, this Arctic dry air mass moves in. These are dew points, not temperatures, and then brings in and sweeps out all this humidity for the entire U.S. And if the European was to happen, this would make it all the way to Miami. So we'll continue to watch that. But as far as precipitation, one thing we were talking about is the potential for snow for areas in the Mid-South. Well, the GFS and the European has trended away from that. And in fact, the European is definitely, I think I said the European was the one showing a big-time snow events for Chicago. It's actually the GFS. This is the GFS, the latest one that just came out. Shows a pretty intense snowstorm as you get into New Year's Day, into overnight New Year's Day into the 2nd of January. The European is a little bit more warm, and I think that's because the low pressure is a little bit further north, obviously. That brings more warm air advection a little bit further north, therefore that rain-snow line is more north. But if you look at the GFS, had a couple people ask about Chicago. This would bring a pretty nice snowstorm for you guys. You guys have been kind of gypped lately. You guys have not had a nice favorable track for snowstorms, so I think that might change here. Going through in time brings in colder air, but there is signs that potentially the warm air builds back in, but we'll watch. Shows another crazy cold front as you get past 10 days out. But as we all know, that's not reliable at all. Temperatures, warm all the way through the weekend, all the way into Sunday. But then look at this front that moves through. Guys, when I tell you this is going to be a sharp front, I'll give you an example here. This is basically Sunday. Well, no, let's go back to Saturday. This is around Saturday afternoon for high temperatures. I think this is a little overdone. So this is around early afternoon hours. You got severe weather and temperatures well into the 70s, maybe pushing 80 degrees in the deep south. Fast forward 24 hours, and then you only have temperatures in the 30s for the same time 24 hours later in the middle of the day. I think that's a little bit overdone, but we'll watch. This is going to bring in winter back at least temporarily. And then it shows another big-time cold front at the end of the run, kind of like the GFS, but this is really far out, and it's hard to take very serious. As far as rainfall, guys, with all these systems, this is through early next week. A lot of people's going to see several inches of rain, especially around Tennessee and definitely eastern Tennessee, Alabama, maybe 3-4 inches of rain. So, when you're so dry and all this rain falls really fast, it can definitely cause flash flooding because the ground can't absorb it quick enough, just because it hasn't seen it enough. So that's all I got, guys. Another 20-minute long video. I got to figure out a way to make these shorter and not talk y'all to death. But be weather aware tomorrow for sure. And thank y'all for the amazing support, and y'all have a great night.